Britain stands alone, battered after Dunkirk, outnumbered in the skies. Hitler issues a single command: destroy the Royal Air Force or prepare to invade. The island's fate now hangs entirely on AIR power and on a handful of pilots facing impossible odds. How did they survive the onslaught? France fell in just 6 weeks. On June 22, 1940, the French government signed its surrender in the same railway carriage where Germany had admitted defeat in 1918. The British Expeditionary Force, battered and exhausted, had barely escaped across the Channel only weeks before, leaving almost all of its heavy equipment behind on the beaches of Dunkirk. Now, with the continent under Nazi control, Britain stood alone. The Royal Navy remained strong, but the army was depleted and scattered, its weapons lost in France. Every port from Norway to the Spanish border flew the swastika. The Channel, once a barrier, now felt dangerously narrow. On July 16, 1940, Hitler issued Directive No. 16. The document ordered preparations for Operation Sea Lion, the invasion of Britain. But there was a catch. The Luftwaffe must first sweep the Royal Air Force from the skies. The directive was clear. The Royal Air Force must be eliminated to such an extent that it will be incapable of putting up any sustained opposition. Only then would the invasion fleet risk the crossing. Responsibility for this task fell to Hermann Göring, head of the Luftwaffe. He promised to smash the Royal Air Force quickly and open the skies for German troops. Across the Channel, British commanders understood what was at stake. With the army weakened and the navy stretched thin, the fate of the island would rest on air defense alone. Fighter command became Britain's last line of protection. The coming battle would not be decided by tanks or ships, but by who controlled the AIR above southern England. RAF Fighter Command entered the summer of 1940 with just over 700 operational Hurricanes and Spitfires. The backbone of the defense was the Hawker Hurricane, tough, reliable, and built in numbers. It made up nearly 2/3 of the frontline force, and it handled most bomber interceptions. The Supermarine Spitfire, with its elliptical wings and higher speed, was often tasked with taking on the Luftwaffe's fighter escorts, especially the formidable Messerschmitt Bf-109. On paper, the Luftwaffe outmatched the RAF. German air fleets massed across northern France and the Low Countries, fielding more than 2,500 aircraft for the coming assault, over 1,000 of them single and twin-engine fighters. The Bf-109s boasted impressive speed and firepower, but their range was limited. Once across the Channel, they had only minutes over southern England before fuel forced them home. The twin-engine Bf-110s could reach further, but they proved sluggish in dogfights and often became targets themselves. RAF pilots averaged around 180 hours of training, while many German crews brought hard-won experience from Poland and France. Yet Britain doctrine, shaped by Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding, kept fighters grounded until raids were confirmed, conserving strength for critical moments. Spitfires tangled with escorting Bf-109s, clearing the way for Hurricanes to attack bombers. This division of labor was not perfect, but it played to the unique strengths of each aircraft. The numbers alone told a grim story. The RAF faced a larger, battle-hardened enemy with fewer planes and fewer pilots. To survive, Britain needed something that could offset this imbalance, something beyond speed or firepower. Radar stations stretched along the coast scanned the skies day and night, their antennas sweeping for echoes at ranges over 100 miles. When a distant contact appeared, the signal traveled by telephone to the filter room at Bentley Priory. Teams there converted raw blips into numbered tracks, each one assigned to a possible enemy raid. Plotters used colored markers to show position and heading on a vast map, updating it minute by minute. Group operations rooms received these filtered tracks almost instantly and passed the information to sector controllers. Within minutes, a controller picked up the phone and called airfields like Biggin Hill and Duxford. Pilots scrambled on command, often less than 15 minutes after the first radar contact. This seamless chain of detection, plotting, and rapid relay meant Royal Air Force fighters could intercept bombers before they reached their targets, often seeming to appear in the right place by design, not by chance. Inside the plotting rooms, the real work of turning radar signals into action fell to teams of young women. Members of the Women's Auxiliary Air Force, like Eileen Young-Husband, stood in shifts around vast maps and moved colored markers to track enemy formations. Their hands rarely stopped. Each new report meant another adjustment, another call to a controller. Discipline was relentless. Mistakes could cost lives. These operators worked in 12-hour rotations, day and night. Voices low but urgent as raids built on the board. It took a practiced eye and steady nerve to keep the chaos organized. Thanks to their speed and focus, Fighter Command turned radar warnings into a lead of 15 to 23 minutes. These plotters, mostly in their teens and early 20s, rarely saw daylight during the battle's peak. Yet every interception began with their silent vigilance, keeping Britain's defenses one step ahead. German bombers swept in low over the Channel, hunting British convoys and coastal ports. The first phase of the battle, beginning on July 10th, brought daily attacks on shipping lanes, called Operation Kanalkampf. Coastal towns like Dover and Portsmouth endured repeated bomb blasts. RAF squadrons scrambled to intercept, but the Luftwaffe's numbers stretched Fighter Command thin. Sector commanders like Air Vice Marshal Keith Park coordinated frantic responses, shifting squadrons across southern England to plug the gaps. Each day brought new damage: sunken ships, battered docks, and mounting strain on pilots and ground crews. By August, the focus shifted inland. On August 13th, Adlertag, Eagle Day, the Luftwaffe launched 1,485 sorties against airfields and radar stations. Key sector stations at Kenley and Biggin Hill took direct hits, with hangars destroyed and communications cut. RAF controllers rerouted fighters as command networks teetered on the brink. Just 5 days later, August 18th became known as the hardest day. Both sides suffered their heaviest losses. The RAF lost 68 aircraft, the Luftwaffe 69. Bomb craters scarred runways, and fires raged through hangars. Yet the command system, battered but unbroken, kept squadrons flying. Late August and early September brought relentless pressure. On August 31st, Fighter Command suffered its worst single-day losses, 39 aircraft downed. Still, the Luftwaffe failed to break the defense. Then, on September 7th, German bombers shifted their aim to London itself. 348 bombers and over 600 fighters struck the docks and city center, igniting the Blitz. The capital burned, but the shift gave battered airfields a brief respite. Through each phase, Park's sector teams fought to keep the skies contested, adapting to every new blow. Pilots climbed into their cockpits before dawn, knowing that by nightfall they might have flown 4 or even 5 sorties. Every alarm meant another scramble. There was no rest, just the steady thrum of engines, the roar of takeoff, and the long minutes of tension above southern England. Ground crews worked in rain and smoke, refueling and rearming Hurricanes and Spitfires in as little as 20 minutes, sometimes under the shadow of falling bombs. Fatigue gnawed at everyone. Veteran pilots described hands shaking as they reached for their oxygen masks, eyes gritty from lack of sleep. In squadron diaries, the same names appear again and again. Men flying until exhaustion or wounds took them off the roster. By mid-September, the Luftwaffe was also fraying. German crews faced mounting losses and relentless missions. On the 15th of September, the Luftwaffe launched over 1,500 sorties against London and the southeast. Royal Air Force fighters met them in force, shooting down at least 56 enemy aircraft in a single day. For the German High Command, the cost had become clear. 2 days later, on the 17th of September 1940, Hitler issued Führer Directive No. 18. Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion of Britain, was suspended indefinitely. Without air superiority, the invasion barges gathered along the French coast would never cross the Channel. The battle had drained both sides. For Britain, survival came at a price. 915 Royal Air Force aircraft were lost, and more than 1,500 airmen were killed or wounded. Yet the Royal Air Force endured, battered but unbroken. The skies above the Channel remained contested, and the threat of invasion faded into the autumn fog. The outcome was decided not only by machines and tactics, but by the sheer endurance of those who fought day after day, refusing to yield. Air power still defines the fate of nations. In every modern conflict, skies remain the first battleground and the last line of defense. The lessons forged over Britain's fields echo in every radar sweep and every pilot's oath today. History still warns: control the skies or risk everything.